Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Boy, do we have some news today. We have some exciting news. The fact that a cruise ship has now arrived with more on the way at a location that hasn't sailed in 3 years. Also, if you're one of those people who are thinking, I'd love to go to Asia, I'd love to go to Singapore or Tokyo, well, Royal Caribbean has some good news for you. And then I got a crazy story that I've been reading about a man who survived in a, stranded on a sailboat out at sea with no maneuverability, no power, no nothing for 24 days before being rescued. So congratulations to the Silver Spirit, a Silver Seas cruise ship. It has started sailing out of Hong Kong. And that is the, believe it or not, after all these years and time, the first commercial cruise ship to sail in over 3 years. It's incredible to think that's how long this thing has been going on. That we're, the word that shall not be mentioned has gone on. But yeah, Silver Sea has now been there with the Silver Spirit, and they are expected to be joined by a bunch of other cruise ships in the near future as the Asian market once again opens up. And speaking of the Asian market, if you remember, Tony and I, just before the pandemic hit in October of that year, we went to Japan, and I took a cruise on the Celebrity Millennium from Vancouver, Canada to Tokyo. So it was like a 14-day trans-Pacific cruise. We went to Alaska, and then off we went through the Bering Sea. It was a great cruise. And then I flew to China at the time, into Shanghai, and Tony flew down and met me there. We spent a couple days at Shanghai Disneyland, and then we went on the Spectrum of the Seas. That's the one we ended up running from a typhoon. They actually text messaged us saying, get to the port early, we're leaving, and if you're not here, you're not gonna be on it. Imagine getting that message and too late and missing the ship in China, because they don't appreciate when you don't do the things you say you're gonna do when you arrive in China. But yeah, we were on the Spectrum of the Seas. It was a beautiful ship. It was the first Quantum Plus class at the time. Great new entertainment on board. Well, that ship now is going to be sailing from Singapore to Tokyo, and they're adding 2 extra sailings on September, I believe it's September 19th and October 1st of this year. You can do them back to back if you wish, and it's 10-day cruises. So 20 days, you'd be able to stop at 15 or more ports, and I'm looking at it. I'm really looking at it, because it would take place during my birthday of this year, except September 19th, I have a 10-day cruise. My Canada cruise that week, going from New York all the way up to Quebec City. So now that I'm thinking about it, I can't go. But I bet you some people out there have just heard this and saying, hey, that sounds like an amazing cruise. And if you're wondering about the ship was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I would highly recommend giving it a shot. I had a lot of fun. Okay, we have this crazy story. How would you like to be this guy? Oh, wait, you know what? Before I get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you want to keep up to date with everything cruising, from stories of ships that are starting, to ports that are reopening, to the brand new ships coming online this year, to adventures like going off to Sydney, Australia, as well as visiting New Zealand, and just all the cruise news to keep you aware and keep you up to date so you can make the best decision for your next cruise. Maybe we'll save you some money. Maybe we'll give you a little better experience because, oh, I knew to do that now, because you've seen us do it here on the channel. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's a really great community. Everybody here has been amazing. All the people I meet out there on the cruise ships. I truly, truly love meeting everybody out there. And yeah, it doesn't cost anything, and I do really, really appreciate it. Okay, imagine you go sailing in a very small little sailboat and something breaks and goes wrong. And now you don't have wind power and you're stuck with the current. And the current takes you out to sea. You immediately get on your phone and you start trying to call your friends, and quickly you lose the signal on the phone. And now the land is getting farther and farther and farther away. You try and signal people that are nearby, but no one really pays attention to you. And you don't have a radio that's working. You're in a sailboat, one of those little sailboats. You're pretty much in trouble. Well, we have a gentleman here. His name is Elvis Francois. He's 47 years old, and this is exactly what happened to him. He says he survived sailing in the Caribbean, floating around the Caribbean by sailboat, by eating ketchup, garlic powder, and seasoning cubes that he had on board for 24 days. I'm often saying to myself, how can I lose weight on my cruise as much as possible? Well, I think I just found it. Do something like what this guy did, because you're going to lose a lot of weight when you're out there. In fact, dangerously lose your weight when you're out there. But he floated out there for 24 days before finally being spotted by a plane flying by. And the reason that he was spotted and they took notice of him is because he scribbled "help" on the hull of his sailboat up at the front. The Coast Guard says that was instrumental in his rescue. 24 days. That's incredible that somebody was able to survive on stuff like ketchup and that for that amount of time. Like no fresh water, no nothing except whatever rain might happen. Can you imagine how rough the seas have been in the past few months out there, and to be stuck out there in a tiny, tiny sailboat and not being able to talk to anybody, rescued by anybody, and spotted by anybody. Everyone who goes on a cruise to the Caribbean sees ships all the time. But a small boat floating with the current isn't in the shipping lane. And that's one of the issues. You're floating closer to land, but not close enough to swim. You're, at the gusts of the wind and the current, so you're moving current all over the place like this. Sometimes you can float in the same area for days before you move on, kind of thing. And yeah, Elvis Francois is counting his lucky stars that he was able to be rescued. And that little thing that people laugh at when you see it in the movie, when somebody puts like seashells or rocks on a beach that say "help," and they say, really, who's going to see that? Well, on a tiny sailboat, scratching the word "help," he was spotted by a plane and was rescued. Had he not done that, he might still be out there floating around today, and probably not as in a good a mood, if you know what I mean. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. We'll see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world. Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.